Luckily, everything I've learned on the way, working with Tim Burton and loving sci-fi and horror and lots of comic books. It's a perfect reference for PJ Masks. It's a great pleasure working with this team. Hi, I'm Christian De Vita. I'm the director and writer of PJ Masks, one of the writers. How I arrived to PJ Masks is quite a long journey. Now it's 30 years of work in animation. I was introduced to Fabrice through the production company because I didn't know him personally first. When you start up on a series or a film, the producers present you a number of options. And you see examples. I tend to base it more on a human connection. Every time I meet someone I like to work with, it tends to be the person I've liked the most when I've met them. The inspiration for the characters in PJ Masks comes from a lot of different places. As I said, it's the subject matter is something I know a lot about because I read a lot of comics when I was young and I watched a lot of sci-fi and retro films. So the characters being part of the superhero world, finding references for me was quite easy because I spent maybe a bit too many hours of my life as a child reading comics and watching TV. But it's all good reference, so sometimes the inspiration for the characters always comes from the writing. We work together, the design comes from that, and then you start hearing a theme or a voice in your head, and sometimes it could be just an instrument, like in the case of Luna Girl, where I immediately knew because she was from space, and because the show has a retro quality, that I wanted the theremin. Because it sums up so many of classic sci-fi films that I watched when I was young, because that's all there was on TV in Italy at the time. There was also reruns and old stuff. And the same thing with the Wolfies. I knew it had to be like a form of rock, but it had to blend with the show, which meant we could use brass in it, which, I mean, originally rock in the 50s used to use saxophones, which, you know, it's quite acceptable to do these things. But every character really comes from a specific inspiration or reference, even the Kung Fu stuff we do. I used to watch a lot of Kung Fu, Hong Kong martial art films when I was young as well. So all those crazy, funky flutes. I already had that sound from watching Game of Death and a bunch of other films when I was young. My day is different. It really varies depending on the time in production. We start working out the new characters, which generally bring in a new world, because having a new character with a new location creates more stories. And every time we create a new character in a new world, we have to start thinking about a new theme music for both the character and the world, who they are. And this is generally an organic process that comes from the writing and goes through the design. So generally my day, At that time, it's mostly spent on giving notes and writing and early concept sketches, which then I pass on to the design team. Later on in the production, I could start the day by having a layout brief, and then doing an animation review, and then doing storyboard reviews, and then there'll be several meetings in the day, and then there'll be a whole bunch of emails to reply. It's constantly flowing and changing because of the moments in production. So we start with writing, concept designs, and then we go to storyboards and model creation, because we need the sets and the new props to work some storyboards. So sometimes you will shift the order of episodes depending on what takes longer to create. Also, I'm not a musical person, I didn't study music, so I can only talk about music through feeling and texture and maybe colors and, you know, the rhythm of the scenes I have in mind, because I'm quite visual as a director. And obviously the emotional layers. But luckily, I can put lots of reference together. No, I think the work relationship is great so far. So, you know, it's going to carry on get better and better as the show gets stronger. The thing I appreciate the most is the ability to jump from genre to genre and deliver constantly excellent tracks for everything we ask for.
Day of Christmas, my Romeo gave to me one naughty robot for thee, and thee. Who knew ruining Christmas could be such fun? Wait,
at a short time, I mean, emotionally hits the right chord, but also they're fun. And most of our themes are hit the spot. When I imagined them the first time in my head. I do this thing with the visual stuff as well, because I'm not a great designer. I'll sketch something. I know how it should look in my head, but I need my team to help realize what's in my head. And musically, you know, I start from a point where, oh, this character could be fun like this.
Hey, that's a magic wand! We can't just throw it away! Ooh. Okay, that is funny.
But I have no idea of how to put it together.
Hey, that's a magic wand! We can't just throw it away! Okay, that is funny. You are really funny.
Generally, every character in Pigeon Mask, we care a lot about them using their hands in different ways and, you know, just their mannerisms and poses. I left Italy as soon as I finished film school. Roberto Rossellini started working on paper, and for 10 years while the industry changed and turned into digital and then computers, I worked in many animation departments, arriving at the animation department of Space Jam.
Jordan, Bugs Bunny, special delivery! Together, they just might save the world. Space Jam.
But it was after that I realized I wanted to tell stories. In fact, I got into animation by mistake. I wanted to do comic books because I like to draw and tell stories. And after Space Jam, I started doing storyboards, and the natural progression from stories became to direct. And now I'm into writing and just sort of direct and write and occasionally storyboard. But that took me to Pigeon Mask. So luckily everything I've learned on the way, working with Tim Burton and loving sci-fi and horror and lots of comic books, it's perfect. Why is the marriage between music and images so important? Because having a piano person play music while the film was going maybe had become a little boring, I don't know. Well, I mean, for me, that marriage has to come from an emotional connection. The other stuff you can't force, and music is the same. It has to come from that heart of it, from the story and character, really. And my idols in the film music industry, well, I couldn't be. They would take my Italian passport away if I didn't say Il Maestro, Morricone. But I mean, it's more the perfect fit for the film and project, which is always my attitude with work. If I don't fit with the subject matter, I won't direct something because it's just not a perfect gel. But with PJ Masks, I'm very comfortable, so yeah, that's why I've stuck with it for 8 years.